Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are going to take a look at yet another of these beasts of the Mesozoic Ceratopsian series figures. However, this is actually a 1/6 scale figure, which is a bit different from the rest of the line. Actually, this one and the Psittacosaurus are both in 1/6 scale, I do believe, but you can see a really nice image here on the front, kind of a sneak peek of what the card inside looks like. And then, of course, down here it does say Protoceratops. And then if we turn it around and we get a look here at the back, you can see, again, another image of the card and a little information about the species down here. And, of course, the species name right there as well. And then kind of a checklist of some of the other figures that are included in the first wave of the Beast of the Mesozoic Ceratopsian series figures. So let's go ahead and get this out of the box and take a look at it right now. So as always, we have the card that is included, and then we of course have the tail assembly instructions, but that image on the card is just absolutely beautiful. A really nicely drawn image of the Protoceratops. And then here on the back, we of course have an image of the actual figure, some information on the species, the title of the species, and then the Creative Beast Studio logo and everything down here. And of course the Beast of the Mesozoic logo up in the right hand corner, but I love the fact that they include these cards. I think it's just the coolest idea to include cards with dinosaur figures, and the fact that the Beast of the Mesozoic line has been doing that with these Ceratopsians again is just absolutely awesome. Love that they include these. And then here is our Protoceratops, and it looks beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Not that I expected any less, because it's a Beast of the Mesozoic figure. You can't really expect anything less than absolute pure beauty, and that is exactly what I see here with this Protoceratops. Again, this is definitely one of the figures I was really excited about because Protoceratops is one of my favorite Ceratopsians. So when the Acro34 had asked me to review this one next, I of course happily did just that, and we are here now to take a look at this beautiful Protoceratops. And very flashy looking, I will say, with the paint scheme they've gone with. It's a very interesting looking paint scheme. Definitely not something I would have ever come up with for a figure like this or a species like this. But again, just like with pretty much every figure so far, it does somehow look really cool and potentially natural on the figure. I love that they've used some nice dark tones, but then also kind of have like some lighter tones weaving in and out and just designing all over the body. It's definitely a very cool and very unique appearance for the Protoceratops. So again, something I'm really excited about. Being a huge Protoceratops fan, I cannot wait to get a closer look at this. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of the Protoceratops, just like with every figure so far, the skin texture looks absolutely insane on the figure. I really love how it starts out up here in the kind of snout area and the nostril area with a really nice kind of finer scaling, but then the further back into the head you can see the scale detail starts to get a little bit bigger, and that continues the whole way up into the frill. You can see once we get up here into the frill, that scale detail is actually quite large, and they've done a tremendous job of really bringing out all of that scale detail with an incredibly nice dry brushing, which you can see quite easily displays each and every scale in beautiful and very realistic fashion with kind of a darker reddish coloration, so it looks just genuinely realistic and absolutely awesome the way that they've painted that. And just like I had stated, there are a lot of really cool designs going on the Protoceratops. As you can see, kind of black running up here and bordering around this white area, and this white area then transitions to kind of like an off-white down here, so there's a little color difference between those two as well. You can also see another black streak here. You can see the black kind of outlining the off-white down here as well, and even within this white, you can almost see a similar color to that kind of creeping through the scales, so it's almost like they used this same type of color, this off-white, as like a wash up here. There's just so much that has been done to these figures. Paint-wise, it is unbelievably cool the way that these figures actually look. When you get one in person and you just take a nice closer look at it like this, you'll really be amazed and impressed with just how much paintwork has gone into these figures. You can also see an eye here that is painted beautifully with a nice blue and a black pupil, and as I turn it, you can quite clearly see that gloss coat shining very realistically. Same deal over here on this side. Again, really nicely done overall. The paintwork looks pretty much the same over here, but you can see how beautiful it looks again on both sides. Really nice scale detail here on the lower jaw as well. And of course we do have the articulated jaw on the figure, and once you open that mouth you could see inside the mouth there, really nice realistic tones of color used in there. You can also see the teeth back there and up here on the beak actually. And then down here on the underside of the mouth you can see the tongue sticking out right there. For the most part, the inside of the mouth looks absolutely awesome. Really nice gloss coat used, really nice, very realistic paint and tones of paint, and overall is awesome. You can see that the beak is painted with a black as well, and so is this kind of side horn here on the side of the Protoceratops. And then you can also see these ones that run along the frill are also painted with a black, and again some pretty nice color variation up here on the top of the head up into the frill. You can see a white coming up, and then you have white leading down off of the frill, and then you have some of that like yellowish or like off-white, almost a yellow coloration right there coming in from the side. Really cool design that they've come up with there for the frill as well. Then once you start to lead back into the neck, you can continue to see how they've really nicely dry brushed over this kind of reddish brown coloration, making sure that again the scale detail looks great. But once you get to this black area, you can also see that that as well has been dry brushed, bringing the detail out yet again in beautiful fashion. I think the Beast of the Mesozoic line has really mastered the art of dry brushing and really amps up the paint jobs that have been given to their figures as far as realism goes. You can also see again some of this kind of yellowish off-white sort of coloration running up here onto the back of it. Actually, this one almost looks like it's been given a wash as well, and then maybe dry brushed over a little bit as well. So there's again so much color variation. You can see a similar look to the top up here of the spine of the Protoceratops right in this vicinity, as it then transitions to sort of a little bit of a brighter white as opposed to that yellowish white. And then actually again an alternate color right here. You could see some ridges that do run along the spinal column of the Protoceratops. You could also see a design here on the back of the frill, which is pretty interesting because most times when companies create ceratopsians they just kind of skip the back of the frill, but not the Beast of the Mesozoic. Of course, they do a great job in every area of their figures, and you can see yet again another really nice dry brushing has been applied to the back of the frill also. Coming down here into the front leg, it's nice and thin like you would expect. Again, some more beautiful scale details shining through. Lots of color variation as you lead down into the leg. Really nice foot sculpt here on the front foot. Beautifully painted nails with a black, and they are given a very nice gloss coat so that they shine quite realistically. Coming back up here into the body, again some more incredible scale detail. Everywhere you look, this thing is just absolutely sculpted to the max and overloaded with beautiful paintwork. It is just insane how nicely done this is as far as the actual paint application and the way they've just put so much into it. I keep commenting on it, but it's just honestly impressive. It's like far and away more than most companies would give you when it comes to a paint job on a dinosaur figure. The Beast of the Mesozoic line just really goes the extra mile. And you can see back here the thigh is very nicely sculpted out, beautifully defined musculature also in the calf region. As we move down into the lower part of the leg, you can see that rear foot looks very nice. Again, the paint on the nails is beautifully done. There is no sloppiness, and they also appear to have that really nice gloss coat to them. And then coming back up here, you can see that tail looks really cool, a nice short Protoceratops style tail. And you can also see the scale detail out here on the tail looks fantastic. It actually transitions to an alternate type of scaling, almost similar to what you would expect to see on like a crocodile type scaling here at the end of the tail, which I really do like that as well. The underside also sports some really nice detailing here that you can see as we look through. Really nice fine scaling here on the underside of the Protoceratops, which I think also looks really good. Beautiful scaling here on the underside of the head and lower jaw area into the throat. And then if we look at the opposing side, again, you're not going to see too much difference considering the figure is in a neutral position pretty much, and it's up to you to position and display it how you would like. But you can see again that this side as well is just absolutely gorgeous. I love kind of the skin wrinkles and everything here in the neck. They look phenomenal right there as far as really kind of capturing some movement in the figure. Same deal with right here, you can see a little bit of skin folding going on. And again, the paintwork is just top notch. The sculpt is beautiful. You can see that from every angle. It is just insanely highly detailed, and having an articulated Protoceratops like this is just off the charts awesome. And I could not possibly be happier with these figures. I've said this every single review, and I am 1000% confident that that opinion is not going to change. even with the final ceratopsian from this series, I feel like I'm still going to be telling you the same thing, and that is the fact that I love these beasts of the Mesozoic figures. Now, as far as articulation, of course, we do have the articulated jaw, which we have already seen at this point. And then we have some really nice articulation in the neck, just like usual with these ceratopsians. However, the articulation is a little bit different with the Protoceratops, because with the others, in fact, actually, let me bring in the Styracosaurus here. You'll be able to see here that with the Styracosaurus, you have 2 points of articulation in the neck. You have one right here at the top of the neck where it connects to the head, and then right here where the neck connects to the shoulder. But with the Protoceratops, you actually only have one spot, which is interesting, and it still somehow really works beautifully. You can see that we can pull off pretty much any position that we would like. So it's just a little minute difference between this and some of the others. You can also see that you do have articulation, which is apparently incredibly stiff right here in the shoulder. There we go. Again, I have just picked this up out of the packaging. I haven't maneuvered any of these joints around quite yet. You also have elbow articulation and wrist articulation. Again, the stiffness of the joints is just due to the fact that it hasn't been moved around at all. And I'm sure once you get yours in hand and maneuver it around a little bit and just kind of loosen up those joints, it'll be a lot smoother then. And then you, of course, have articulation here in the midsection, which again allows some pretty cool poses on your figure, allows quite a bit of posability possibilities. And then you have hip articulation, which this one's really smooth. It's actually not tight at all. You also have knee articulation, and then you have 2 areas down here in the ankle area of articulation like usual, and then the tail articulation, which can move quite nicely in pretty much any position you would like, and swivel, of course, as well. So lots and lots of articulation, which then allows you to pose and display your ceratopsians in absolutely any way you would like, which is just the absolute coolest thing in the world. But as far as the size goes, and this is definitely a very sizable figure, even though Protoceratops himself is a pretty small dinosaur, being a 1/6 scale figure, it's definitely got some pretty good size to it. So for a length, actually, let me straighten that tail out a little bit better so we can try to get the most accurate measurement that we can. For a length, you are looking at about 12.5 inches, or about almost 32 centimeters in length. And then for a height at this point here, the way it's standing, you are looking at 5 3/4 inches, or about 14.5 centimeters, closing in on 15 centimeters, somewhere in that range. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Glovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon next to our beast of the Mesozoic 1/6 scale Protoceratops, and you can definitely see next to these figures the pretty darn good size of this Protoceratops, and in fact it might be the biggest ceratopsian that we've had so far that we've reviewed in this line. Of course, it won't be the biggest ceratopsian overall, as the Torosaurus and Triceratops eventually will tower over this probably, but you can definitely see that even next to the Paporex, it quite easily dwarfs the Paporex. But previously, the largest ceratopsian I think that we had taken a look at here from the beasts of the Mesozoic would have been the Medusaceratops. So for another size comparison, there is the Medusaceratops next to the Protoceratops, and although from this angle you can clearly tell that the Medusaceratops is winning in the length department, the overall height and body mass definitely seems to go to the Protoceratops. And for yet another size comparison, even though it's not a velociraptor like you would probably like to see, this is still a 1/6 scale figure in comparison to the 1/6 scale Protoceratops, but this is the Atrociraptor next to the Protoceratops here, and hopefully, again, this will help to give you an idea of what the size is of this Protoceratops. So this beast of the Mesozoic Ceratopsian Series 1/6 scale Protoceratops is absolutely unbelievable, and probably the best Protoceratops that I have in my collection. I honestly could not be happier with this figure. Again, being such a huge fan of the Protoceratops in general, I've always loved that species, even since I was a child. Ever since I got the Definitely Dinosaurs Protoceratops when I was a kid, I was instantly drawn to that species, and I've always been a big fan of the Protoceratops. The sculpt of this Protoceratops is absolutely beautiful. The fine detailing of this figure is just unbelievably well done. So much beautiful scale work all over the entire figure, and the way they've dry brushed the paint over top of the scales to really make those scales pop is just gorgeous in every possible way. I love the way that this figure was painted. The actual paint scheme itself I am a pretty big fan of. I do quite like the fact that they've given it so many different tones of color and a very cool and intricate design overall. It's something that's very different, kind of thinking outside the box, and that's something I can always appreciate when any company kind of gives us something a little newer, a little more unique than what you would normally see. But sometimes that's not always enough. Sometimes you'll have a really cool paint scheme that they come up with, but the actual application of the paint isn't that great. But with this one, that is not the case, because both the actual paint scheme that they've come up with being really cool is awesome enough, but the actual application of the paint is incredibly well done. Again, it's the type of figure that you just need to get in hand and take a nice close look to really examine the paintwork on it and kind of take in how many different tones of color have been added and the way it's been painted, given really nice washes and really beautiful dry brushing. And they've done so many different variations of it throughout the figure, with like just dry brushing certain areas with a certain color and other areas with another color. Again, these figures must have taken forever to paint, and that's one thing that it's just something that flows from these figures is the love. The love that goes into these figures is just very apparent, I will say, because you could see with each and every figure and how much paintwork that has been included and how good the job of the actual application of the paint is. You could tell that David Silva just didn't accept anything but the best when it comes to his figures, and that is something that I've seen continuously with each one of these releases, each of these Ceratopsians. The paintwork has just been very, very impressive every single time, and that is no different with this one. And in fact, this one may be one of the most impressive paint schemes on these figures, again, because it's such a very cool, intricate design, but also the way it's been applied. But sculpt-wise, this Protoceratops is gorgeous, really capturing the overall essence of Protoceratops and bringing it straight to us here in a really nice, very articulated figure. Paint job is awesome as well, with a very interesting and unique look. And again, the articulation works perfectly. It is just unbelievable how cool this figure is with the articulation included, and how easily you can just manipulate the figure into any position that you would like. And that's pretty much the most appealing factor, I think, of these Beasts of the Mesozoic Ceratopsian figures. But overall, this figure is a 1000% win, and I could not be happier to finally have this now in my collection. So if you would like to pick this up, I will include a link in the description to where you can pick this up on the Creative Beast Studio website. So make sure you check the description. Go buy yourself this fantastic Protoceratops from the Beast of the Mesozoic Ceratopsian line, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.